Today, welcome to ChillPoint. It's like Checkpoint, but with guns. This is ChillPoint. I may have left my gun at home.
I only bring knives, which I hear you're not really supposed to bring to a gunfight. That's just why I didn't bring them today.
Except for very specific circumstances.
Oh, that's true.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, where it's a show where we talk about the video game news of the week, as well as the episode of Checkpoint that just went up.
It's too bad there was no news this week.
No news.
Nope.
Well, I feel like maybe, in some ways that is accurate because
Because of what the topic was
as we talked about on the episode what was a majority of the episode of Checkpoint was, Power World, which is not probably, I feel like probably maybe wouldn't have gotten the coverage that it did if it wasn't for the fact that it came out when there's like nothing else going on.
It helps. It's a good time. It helps. But there's so many other games that came out recently, Paul. We had like another Code Recollection, the Phoenix Wright second trilogy got re-released. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank just came out. There's so many other games. Or not that one.
That one probably has guns too.
Yes, actually pretty sure it does.
I quite enjoyed Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
The sequel is a different genre.
Oh, really?
It's a roguelike.
Oh.
I'm hoping Serge will play it because I think he'd like it.
Anyway, hey everybody, let's talk about episode of Checkpoint. Obviously, we're here on Saturday, not on Friday. Just that was partially to let you know, but also to remind myself that today is Saturday and not Friday, because I largely base my concept of time around the Loading Ready Run streaming schedule.
Yep.
And so when it changes, it confuses me.
For us, it is Saturday. If you are in a different time zone, it may be a different day. You could be watching this VOD on a different time. But for us, in this moment at recording, it's Saturday, and Paula and I both desperately need to remember that.
Yeah. So let's talk about Power World. Graham.
Graham did a very good job of going over
he
talking points and
covered the major. What I found so interesting about the Power World from the point of view of Checkpoint is that, the story, it's Pokemon but with guns, and there's possibly some copyright stuff, came out, over sort of last weekend when the game first came out in early access. And then over the course of the next couple days, I ended up marking like a ton of stories about Power World because there were so many different like weird angles on Power World again, possibly because people were looking for stories, but like there was, this sort of copyright thing. There was the aspect that it's like blowing up in terms of popularity, in terms of concurrent players on Steam. There was this thing about that I think they mentioned in the after show that there was already a mod that added actually real Pokemon into the game.
And that got taken down.
Which got DMCA.
A lot of people like to point out that mod was behind a Patreon wall tier as to why it probably got taken down. And I will tell you, as much as I like Nintendo stuff, Nintendo doesn't like their stuff being perceived a certain way. I don't think the paywall would have mattered. I'm pretty sure they would have asked for that to be taken down.
Yeah, non-commercial has never been
It's never been like fully
thing.
the only reason as to why a thing companies don't want to have existing.
also that's not a provision of the copyright laws, that if it's non-commercial it's fine.
Yeah, there's also that.
It makes people less inclined to mess with you because they don't care, but it's not actually a legal thing. There was also stuff about the guns in the game, and this idea of like it's sort of, in a lot of ways, Pal World is like making explicit the implicit abuse that happens in the Pokemon world. The idea, it's like in Pokemon, it's like, oh, your Pokemon turn into candy. How does that happen? We don't talk about it too much. In Pal World, it's like, no, we're grinding them up.
Yeah, I mean, so the initial marketing for it showed a trailer that very much felt like Pokemon with guns.
Right.
So I think that's why people keep going to that phrase. It's not. It's more like Ark, from what I understand.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a game to actually compare it to, but it does have a creature catching mechanic, so it's not totally not Pokemon. But lots of games have creature catching mechanics now.
And it's little like balls.
It's a little
that
ball.
You catch them in.
It's more. I think a lot of people see the creatures and they're like, Pokemon, because we don't remember Digimon or any of the other creature style games anymore.
I mean, I've definitely seen, in addition to in threads where there's been like all the, comparisons of like this guy from Pokemon, this guy from Pal World, back and forth, which some I would say are very legitimate. Some are starting to get a little bit like, yeah. But I've also seen in those threads like side by side Pokemon and say Dragon Quest, and they're being like exact duplicates and stuff. So, and as Graham said, the idea of one game or a media piece copying another one, but changing it in small ways so that everyone knows they're copying, but it's not actually legally copying. That's been a thing since, forever.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's not, it's fine. Like, or not fine, but it's like, it's not something that can be persecuted, I guess. Like, if this was going to be a problem, if this was a problem for Nintendo, for one thing, Nintendo would have to start getting mad at a lot of other people. But also, the game has been public about the character designs for over a year. Mm-hmm. And, and they're in Japan. Nintendo's in Japan. It wouldn't be that hard for Nintendo to sue them. They're not. And I don't think they're like, I don't think people are like, ooh, that message from Game Freaks where they're like, we did not license blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah, so but like Beach had that as his last story, the response from Pokemon about being we recognize that other games happen. Now I feel like they probably wouldn't have put that press release out except with how much people are using Pokemon as the comparison. I wouldn't doubt there's a bunch of people actually asking other people at Nintendo, hey, have you heard of Pal World? Because Pal World has been one of those things. I listen to a number of gaming podcasts, and Pal World has definitely been one of those things I've seen people badgering other people to play or to do because it's the hot topic. And when a company gets asked repeatedly about a thing like that, they have to make a statement. Right. So the statement being, we are aware of other games existing.
It's like, as
we have not given permission to have other games have our thing, is the most.
It's like the most non-committal you could possibly do.
But it's what they have to say, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we're aware games exist. Yes, no, we haven't given anyone copyright. Yes, we'll investigate if we need to.
Yeah.
If anything actually comes out of that,
But yeah, the idea that statement is making Pal World be like, ooh, I don't think is.
Oh no, I don't think anyone's actually
And
seriously invested in that
yeah,
statement as a thing.
and yeah, as lots of people point out, there's a lot of Pokemon. There's like 1,000 or something Pokemon.
Yeah.
Uh, and take inspiration from all sorts of different things. In some cases just regular actual animals. In some cases, mythical things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of sort of public domain-ish
A lot of the
style.
mythical Pokemon are based on different types of gods
Yeah,
and things. There's Poke Trubbish is just a pile of trash.
yeah. There's
You
there's
know.
all sorts of stuff where it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Yokai Watch did similar stuff, but their event was a little bit different.
I saw like one of the comparisons. There was like, there's this like whatever, some sort of wolf thing in Power World, and it's like, but look at this, there's like this wolf Pokemon, and it's like that's just a wolf in the art, and it's like it's a similar art style, but that's just what a wolf looks like in that art style. That's not that's partially Pokemon's fault for having such a generic looking Pokemon.
Yeah. I guess like the thing, because I've looked at Pal World, I've heard people talk about what the game actually is like and things, and it's not a game that interests me
Yeah.
at all. But it bothers me to see people online who, it's one thing, like, I already know that the Pokemon fandom is meh, whatever they're doing, but it's weird for me to see a game that has released in early access for only a few days and it has people who are feels like just as entrenched and dug in.
Yeah, they definitely have.
That's weird to me.
I mean, and people in the comments to the, it was interesting seeing people in the comments to the ChillPoint story talking about, being like, yeah, it's got kind of this janky mishmash of art styles and mechanics and stuff, but it kind of works if you're into that.
Yeah.
Apparently, and again, neither of us have played it, and neither have Graham or Beach, but did like in comparison to say like Ark, Survival Evolved, which has been out for like 5 years. It's kind of embarrassing how much better this like game that just came out in early access is in a lot of ways. So there's I've heard a fair amount of like people go in extremely skeptical and they're like, actually this is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a fine
But yeah,
experience as far
just
as I can tell.
not something that is
I-
particularly interesting.
I've seen people have takes on the internet that are very mild, stuff like, I've played some of this game now. I wish or hope that they add more lore to it or they do whatever, because Pokemon has quite a bit if you read through all the Pokedex entries and you do whatever. And I've watched other people attack them because they're like, oh, I see, you're just a Nintendo fan. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to get mad at when a person's not saying anything terrible about.
Yeah.
Like, I just, I mean, I feel that I also feel the need to say this because this showed up in the comments quite a bit. People were correcting Beach on the plot to Black and White.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And in the fact that he's not wrong in the plot, but the fact that he didn't reveal the extra part of the plot where it's like that whole portion's just a front.
Right.
I need you to understand, Beach doesn't play Pokemon. I can't even get... He doesn't... I don't think... The only thing I've gotten Beach to do in terms of Pokemon is watch Pokemon Concierge, which is awesome and cute, and you should watch that.
It is
very
quite
cuddly.
It is quite
and
adorable.
I hope they make more of that. But he only knows about Pokemon the stuff that he sees very casually or the stuff that I tell him.
Mm.
So, cut him some slack. He got the basic part of it right.
And yeah, it's it is true that that the screenshot that was in the video of an email that giving us a code for it is true. We got at least one code, if not like multiple, because I think we got one from Twitch itself as well as from Palworld. Anyway, at the moment, I am not aware of anybody in the crew who's planning on playing it. There are a few folk that it's probably more up their alley than.
I've not seen anyone that I know be hyped or interested in this game. That's not to say they won't play it, or maybe they haven't talked about it, but it's not.
There's definitely a bit of a, when you're, and it's a shame because, sometimes there's this problem where, not necessarily through any fault of their own, although there's something about the community that a game kind of fosters, but this idea that somebody, a streamer who might be sort of legitimately, relatively interested in something that what Palworld is, and might even play the game on their own time. Sometimes a game like that, especially when it's like blown up so fast and it has so much sort of discourse, shall we say, about it, both positive and negative. Sometimes it's like, it's just not like, I don't love the game so much that it's worth getting into that. Like, I don't want that to be the experience. Is like, if I'm interested in the game, or if you're like, if somebody's interested in the game, maybe you just like play it on your own rather than have to like, because when you're streaming, you can't really, it's hard to kind of ignore that aspect where it's like, you have to kind of engage with the, if you're streaming it, then and a whole bunch of people start showing up in your chat.
It'd be like, I feel like it is probably akin to trying to stream Undertale when Undertale was going at its peak. There's a lot of people telling people, oh, you should play this game. And that's the funny thing. I ask people for suggestions for games all the time. But when I get people who are like overwhelmingly telling me that I should play a game, and I go and I look at it and I'm like, I don't think that's for me, and then they keep telling me I should play the game, I am less inclined to stream it.
Yeah.
And yet you still got Trombone Hero, so.
And to be fair, Trombone Hero,
it's fine. It's not my kind of rhythm game.
No.
It's very memey.
It does result in very, very funny things.
It's true.
Not necessarily.
I'm glad we played it on stream, but it's.
I wouldn't call it the
deterred.
best. Yeah, I wouldn't call it the best rhythm game out there, but it does have some amazing stuff in it. Very, very well crafted game for silliness.
Now, I am curious to see if Palworld sticks around longer than Flavor of the Month.
That will be interesting. It has already, like, it got the however many concurrents.
Yeah, like a lot of people are playing it right now, which is great. You want the launch of your game to do well. You want lots of people playing. It's in early access, so they're gonna be clearly doing more to it and whatever. But like, we've had plenty of games that show up that are really popular for a bit and then nobody remembers.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like Palworld's the hot thing right now, but does it maintain? Because when you have you've got things like Fortnite. Fortnite maintains partially because it's a free-to-play game, but also because they have new stuff happening all the time, so they're always making announcements. So they're almost always in the news. And that's why we talk about it quite often. And,
Fortnite does have, a legitimately very entertaining gameplay loop.
It's got a gameplay loop that people enjoy.
Bring back.
Pokemon has a card game, video games, an anime TV series, a release schedule that is frankly unattainable by most human beings, and a bunch of merch, and has been around for like over 20 years. So it's got nostalgia glasses and a bunch of stuff going for it.
Yeah.
It's very committed as part of social culture in a lot of ways. Like I said, Beach hasn't played any of the Pokemon games, not even the side games, which honestly, as far as I'm concerned, spin-off games are better Pokemon games, or barely watched any of the media. But he could probably name for you 30 to 50 Pokemon.
Right. I mean, although to be fair, those 30 to 50 Pokemon
Oh, they're going to be from the first gen.
are probably like stuffed animals in your house.
Do we have that many? Oh shit, we might have about that many. Yeah, maybe.
So anyway.
I am curious though. Question for you. Because one of the topics that comes up within the Pal World discussion, if you can find proper discussion, is this idea that people deserve better Pokemon games. And I know you've been playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but your complaints seem to be mostly around multiplayer.
Well, that's part of it. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I've talked about. I mean, I've talked about it on the stream before. I remember when somebody did that Elden Ring mod that just like added Pokemon to Elden Ring. And it looked amazing, right? And it was like, this isn't space age technology. This is like present day. This, and it's frustrating. As somebody who does enjoy the Pokemon games, I think the act of the actual gameplay loop of Pokemon, the Pokemon fighting, the type battles, all that kind of stuff, is a very well-crafted system, and it's a lot of fun. And it's so frustrating. And like my brother and I played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet together. He lives in Boston, and so we were playing it remotely, and just it's to even a little bit that's in even as buggy and crappy that as Scarlet and Violet is, like walking through the world and seeing like a little group of Clefairies all like hanging out together is amazing. It's adorable, and it's so frustrating to see that and be like, and imagining what the game could be,
right?
Because what and the multiplayer aspect of Scarlet and Violet is something that lots of people talked about. I mean, the stupid part is it's the best multiplayer aspect that they've had in a Pokemon game so far, and it's still terrible. Like, to the extent that we've been playing it together like once a week for a while. Like, we haven't been progressing very fast. But for the last like third of the game, we didn't actually like hook up our games. We would be on like Discord and talking to each other. But we were realizing like, you can't, nothing in the game, like you walk around, you see the other person, but you can't fight together, you can't enter cutscenes together, you can't do anything together.
Right.
Like, and you can't see what the other person's seeing.
So you almost want multiplayer in like the way that Baldur's Gate 3 has been doing it, where like if somebody enters a cutscene, you can go and listen in and see it.
And you can play like we actually, before we played Scarlet and Violet, we played not Black and White, Gold and Silver.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we played that in emulator, and we're like screen sharing our games between each other, and that was a much more sort of communal experience, because you could see the other person's gameplay, and you could be like, "Oh, you're doing that. That's really cool. Oh, you're doing this. It's really cool." Which seems stupid because that's such it's a way older game, but when we were playing Scarlet and Violet, it's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. Like, why are we even in this game together? And again, my brother was also playing some like Stardew Valley, right? Game that's made by one guy.
Yeah, I mean, that game should not be held up to the standards of...
And the multiplayer in it is amazing. You get to play with other people. You can build your garden together. You can do all this stuff, which also that came out after the game. Like that was just like added as a free update to the game.
He's working on another one.
I know. And it's just
You don't deserve the free updates to go into
it's
that
frustrating that the technology is clearly there. You know, I played around when I was playing Scarlet and Violet. I was also playing like Zelda, and it's so sad to see Zelda, which even Breath of the Wild, which when Pokemon came out was about 2 or 3 years old, looking so much better. And it's like, dude, you guys, I mean, I know Game Freak and Nintendo are different companies, but like maybe Game Freak could just like go over to Nintendo and like hang out with them for an afternoon and be like, hey guys, how do you do grass? Can you tell us how you're doing your grass? Because ours looks like shit.
I mean, I find it almost kind of weird that they transitioned to the more 3D style. Like I know it's been a couple of years, so it was like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee had
Right.
it, which was actually pretty cool in terms of you're replaying an older game and now you get some cutscenes and stuff that have camera angles and stuff. Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet. But before that, everything was more top down, or occasionally they had, but you're still running with like kind of a pixelated version of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's such a weird transition to make.
Also, yeah. I mean, of course, my other complaint about Scarlet and Violet is the actual like story is, or not even story, because there isn't like the story. It even like sort of the world lore and everything is so much worse than other Pokemon games. And not saying like Pokemon games are not the most story-driven things, but the fact that there's just like no conflict in Scarlet and Violet, there are no bad guys. Like for some reason, Team Rocket was considered to be too scary or bad, I guess. So now the bad guys are just like, we were a group of misunderstood kids, and like every single fight ends with, well,
might be more
good
that,
job, you.
that they're trying a little hard to fit everything into the theming of a school universe than necessarily like, oh, Team Rocket's too scary. But
you're not gonna,
because Sword and Shield was that way too, right? They were fitting everything into the stadium sports kind of universe, and it might just be more of a theming problem.
The objective of the game is not to be the very best, the best there ever was. When you defeat the final four, that's just basically like you getting into, like, that's not even like that impressive. Like basically everybody has done that. That's just like getting into the advanced class basically at school. Like you get into like the AP Pokemon class. I don't know.
What's your favorite Pokemon game you've played?
I mean, I've only played the two, but I definitely enjoyed. I think I enjoyed Gold and Silver better more than.
I think Silver.
I should say.
Be the thing
I should say that I enjoyed playing it. It's like it's tough because Scarlet has a ton of the actual fighting the Pokemon part is great. And they added a bunch of like quality of life things to the fighting the Pokemon part that I really liked. Mm-hmm. But everything around that is much worse.
Let me know when you're done.
Anyway.
Because I should really lend you Legends Arceus.
I am done Scarlet Violet now.
Because it's that game came out earlier by like...
But I've heard it's better in a lot of ways.
It's a good game. It's probably one of my favorites in terms of like actually going and catching Pokemon. I prefer kind of more the side games like Pokemon typing or mystery dungeons and Snap and whatnot, where it's the catching mechanic isn't really the central focus.
Yeah. Also, my favorite thing about the Pokemon Scarlet and everything is based around this it's all based around this like school, even though you don't actually go to the school.
No, it's all free Free period.
But like
Self
one time I actually was like at the school. I was like, hey, there's like hey, you want to go to class? It's all these classes. You can go to all these classes, and I went to the math class, and I love it as a illustration of how completely bizarre the Pokemon world is, where it's this world where everybody, like, Pokemon are the most important thing in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is hardcore about Pokemon. And so math class consisted of, I think there was only like one actual like question, and it was, if I've got a Pokemon that is, a grass type Pokemon, and I attack him with a fire move, does that do, double damage or half damage? Like, that was the math question.
Well,
Anyway.
at least they keep on topic. When I played Detective Pikachu Returns, the fact that one of the characters went to the Pokemon University and knew so much about Pokemon was apparently a big deal. And for a town full of people who all had their Pokemon partners, no one knew squat. It was very weird.
Well, that's the other thing about the Pokemon world. I don't know. There was no actual Pokemon news this week. I don't know how far down we're going on this, but the thing about the Pokemon, like I was saying, everything is about Pokemon. Mm-hmm. The entire world is all centered around Pokemon, and yet in the real world, our world, there are people who are much better and much more hardcore about like training and coming up with new Pokemon strategies to play the video game in our world, in Pokemon in tournaments of the video game Pokemon, than in the Pokemon world, where Pokemon are real and it's important and you get money, often a lot of money, from like random kids. You're like, I just beat your Pokemon. I'm gonna take your lunch money, kid.
Yeah,
also,
those are the rules.
Also, up until very late in the game, nobody seems to have figured out that you're allowed to have 6 Pokemon. You don't just have to have the one.
Well, I mean, there's that. There's also the don't forget how much Pokemon teaches you not to look anyone in the eyes. Not unless you want to fight.
Not a problem. Scarlet Violet's good with that you have to actually go up to a trainer now. They don't just like randomly attack you.
Yeah, I mean that's nice. I prefer that. I do kind of miss the whole like the meme of don't let anyone see you, like, because in some of the older Pokemon games there were definitely trainers you couldn't avoid, right? They would see you no matter what,
right?
But occasionally you would come across one that would like turn around and you could try to
you could avoid them. Yeah. Also, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, being a Pokemon gym leader is not a good job.
No, not from what I've seen. I've only met a couple of them. I'm not that far in.
All of the gym leaders have other jobs. Like, it's not a like a paying gig. Yeah. Or at least not a well-paying gig. There's one guy who's like an overworked salaryman who's just like sad.
Well, I mean, he's an overworked salaryman. I'm not sure you can be much else.
And it's just like, Jesus, why do I want to get really good with Pokemon again? I get to become this guy who, it's like being a Pokemon trainer seems to be just like something, it's like being like the coach of like a little league soccer team or something, where it's just like a volunteer from the community.
Yeah.
It's this weird combination of like the most important thing and also a thing that nobody cares about anyway.
Paul's desperately trying to get out of Pokemon socket, whereas I'm like, oh yeah, what else could we talk about that's Pokemon related? I really wish they'd had a storyline that wasn't essentially just to fight other Pokemon.
Yeah,
that would have been nice, given how much they were like, oh, we have all these 3 storylines and stuff. And I'm like, that's cool, like it's neat, but
Well, it's also it's
Like-
they're like, hey, there's 3 storylines. You can go whichever way you want. Also, if you
Kind of gonna do all of them.
yeah, when you get to the end of one, you then have to you have to do all 3 to actually progress the story. So it's not actually like giving you a choice. It's just a choice of what order to put them in.
Yeah.
As a small side piece for Pal World, I was I have the video that plays at the end, or at the beginning, has so they put out a video a while ago that was like using your pals efficiently, because the idea is that they work in your base and like do stuff.
Yeah.
But if you work them too hard, they get sad and eventually they can just like die.
Yeah. They're weirdly more sentient tools than, say, proper pets or
Right.
like just the feel of it, right? Like
Again-
use and discard as opposed to
But
take
again,
care of.
in some ways, making more explicit something that kind of was the case anyway in Pokemon. Like, I have in my Scarlet Violet game, I've got like 100 Pokemon that are just like in boxes that I have never taken out of the boxes.
They're sleeping.
Sure.
I mean, that's part of the reason why people do Nuzlockes and such, right? The experience is supposed to give you more of a connection to keeping certain Pokemon in your party and trying to make sure they don't die. And
But anyway, the important part though is here, if I go to the screen cap view and
like some people keep Funko Pops. It's true. I keep all of my Funko Pops in boxes. I have 2. I don't know how I got them. That's not true, but it seems weird that they are in my house.
if I turn on the sound here, I love the listen to the announcer here. There, like he said, be careful not to overwork your pulse.
Are you overworked, Paul? You kind of like
Am I-
help run the company, so that's really more of a you problem than anyone else's problem.
Am I in a I'm so far at least I'm not in a pile of dead bodies.
Which is funny because for you that's possible. You have clones.
Oh, I haven't seen a lot of clones around lately though.
Did we not move them from the last moon base? Because maybe they're still hanging out there. Did we get rid of the last moon base, or did the Paul clones just kick us out and take over?
Don't know.
There's so many possibilities.
Anyway, I like that the
Possibilities.
accent that the person has. It's like, your pals can come here. Your
It
pals can come
sounds-
here. And then it's like, be careful not to overwork your pals.
It kind of sounds like a computer-generated voice to me,
It could be.
but with an accent. I don't know.
Anyway. All right. I think we can move on from Pal World.
Can we?
Um,
I will
And-
be mildly upset if it becomes like our Fortnite stories. Although maybe that'd just be funny. Pal World has introduced Solid Snake.
oh, yeah. If they just like start adding all sorts of
That might
weird
be funny for a while.
license
Never mind.
things. If you got a Solid Snake, like just working in your, just like working in your base, like manufacturing things, that'd be pretty silly. Yeah. So, and I'm not sure. Maybe we didn't sort of. Maybe this wasn't sufficiently expressed in the way the story was written. I mean, I really like the way Beach did it, but maybe we could have done something with graphics or things. But so the other story we're talking about here is Love Live School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live Global Version. That's the whole name of the game.
It's a visual novel. That's why the name's so long. That's not
Yeah.
true.
No, it's not a visual. It's not a visual novel, is it?
It's not. It's always been a rhythm game. It's fake idols. They do the idol-y thing. But as far as I know, it's never been a visual novel. There might be a light novel or something for all I know, but I don't think so.
So, and yeah, so it might not have been. We were sort of trying to like, you know, hide it during the first story, then revealed in the second story, but maybe it wasn't quite clear. In a single tweet,
Yep.
they announced that it was coming out in February and that it would be shutting down in May.
Yeah, and it had been written as if they were two separate tweets meant for later. But that was the full message. Like, and that's the thing. The story actually came out like, because these get written. Most of our stories get written like Wednesday night. This story came out like kind of like late night Wednesday. It was something actually I saw in our own Discord because people were talking about it in the Rhythm channel, and I know how much Beach enjoys a gag like this, so I sent it to him to be like, "Hey, when's the last time you've seen a social media post where they announce and close the game at the same time?"
So this is the tweet that went out. We're excited to break the news that the global version will be launching in February 2024. However, we want to inform you that the global version will close its doors in May 31st, 2024, and cease in-app purchases accordingly.
Yep. It's
like
a weird thing to see.
The thread, has lots of people, lots of memes of like the Grandpa Simpson, coming in, taking off his hat, putting on his hat, and going back out the door.
That's appropriate.
And the only thing that I can think of is that for some reason, maybe it's a licensing thing or something, the closing date was fixed like a while ago. And then something happened to push the release date back and back and back and back. And so they were like, I guess we still have to, we're done. I guess we release it, but we still have to close it on the same day.
Love Live is one of those games, because this isn't the first Love Live game. Clearly it's got a 2 in the title, but I've played Love Live, or at least the first one, and it went on for a long time. It's one of those games. It's a rhythm game, but it's a mobile rhythm game where you have like a heart meter that
you've done some Love Live games on Rhythm Cafe, haven't you? Yeah,
I think we had to take down most of those videos.
Oh.
You talk about somebody who wants to hit you for copyright. There's like a heart meter that as you use up hearts to do plays, and then it refills over time, or you can pay to refill it. But it also has this leveling system. As you get better and you get your levels, the heart meter gets bigger, so you can actually play for longer and stuff.
Right.
And because of that, and it's also the how well you do in the rhythm game is actually somewhat based on the timing of your beats, but it's based also on the cards that you collect of these idols being in the team that you're playing. Affects your grading and your score. It was, when I first started playing, it was one of the most frustrating things for me.
So you have to have the right team.
And you've got to level it up by playing and stuff. So sometimes your scores are kind of low while you're trying to level. There's
no matter how well you actually do in the rhythm part, you can't get the big score.
And there's the loot box pull of either a single pull for a free pull, or like they've referred to them as 10+1s, where you do the big group and then you get like a free extra that is of a certain quality, and those cards are always better and whatnot. And then there's also a combining mechanic to make certain cards prettier of a different level. It's got a lot going on with it.
Right.
But because of that, one of the things that happens is like every 2 weeks or so, there is a online competition thing, so you can win the new cards that are pretty or whatever. And that game went on for a very long time. The global version of this game, I believe, has only been out in Japan for about a year, and Japan's closing theirs in like March or something as well. And to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like
It's not a year-long game where you have it for a year and close it down and have your global version do this. The global version's always kind of been about a year behind the Japanese version in terms of events. So people who are really into this game already kind of know what events are coming up based on what Japan's already done.
Right. It's, yeah. I don't know. It's maybe it makes sense somewhere or there's, but it is definitely, and as some in the comments were talking about, the idea, Earth and One was talking about like the idea of a limited existence video game, is kind of interesting. Like I think it has been done like once or twice as sort of an experimental thing. Or there was that video game that like takes like 2.5 years to beat or something. With it. It was like the
400-day one. Yeah.
The Sleeping King or something.
I can't remember. That might have been the title. Yeah, you can speed up time.
But anyway, people have messed around with different stuff. But that doesn't, like, this isn't, some sort of art piece. It's just, it's such a bizarre.
Yeah, like if you want to know how aggravating the idea of a game shuts down and then you don't get to keep your digital stuff is, Love Live, especially in Japan, is notorious for buy physical content that comes with codes for special cards you can only get in game.
And then
now you don't have them anymore now that the game shuts down.
Yeah. And then they'll probably, they'll bring out whatever Love Live 3, which you have to rebuy everything for or whatever, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if anything moves over between the games or not. I kind of stopped playing Love Live because the competitions always started at 2 a.m. our time because they started in Japan time.
Right.
And if you want to min-max your competition time, you have to make sure you use up your time bar and then let it reload. And I just kind of got worn out doing that.
Speaking of people that got worn out, Fantastic.
Oh, right. I forgot about the day before.
That was Friday.
Yep. No, it's Saturday.
Fantastic. People who made day before. We talked about these guys when this sort of came out originally. Was, again, short game or short life cycle. Day before came out, shut down 4 days later. There's a lot of indications that the Fantastic as a company had some seriously weird, sketchy things going on, where they had to they were the ones who had the weird volunteer thing.
Oh, right.
Where everybody's a volunteer. Some of them are
paid.
Yeah, some of them are paid volunteers, but you can also be a volunteer.
The list of tasks they wanted people to do for free was very intense for a volunteer position too, and
yeah, there's some weird, sketchy things going on with them. And then they brought out this game, and then 4 days later they shut down. Whether that was that they had everything locked into the game, the game had to hit a certain thing on the launch day, which seems weird. I don't know how these I don't know how these financing things work, or they were just the I guess cynical idea is that they were going to shut down anyway, and they were just we'll put this out there, some number of people will buy it, and then we'll use that money.
I think there was a thing where wasn't there about how they were having a hard time. They thought they might be shutting down, but they crunched to try to get the game out because the idea is the game comes out, maybe we can make it work.
And then although I guess to their credit, apparently they refunded everybody, in some cases forcefully, which I think might be just sort of a slight translation thing. I think when they made
automatic.
I think they mean is that they initiated it as opposed to
Oh, yeah.
people having to do it themselves. But in the statement, like, we forcibly refunded everybody's thing. It's very funny.
I mean, because what went over in the checkpoint story was the fact that they made a tweet about some stuff that got essentially a comment added to it to say that the game was a scam and here's this video or whatever. They deleted that tweet. They put up a new tweet which got a new comment that explained that there was a previous tweet with this comment, same comment, and now everything's on their website where they blame the bloggers.
Yeah, so they said, they've sort of have this, they've maintained that nothing that because everyone's mad at them because they showed a demo and then the real thing didn't line up with what they were demoing.
Sounds like a decent reason to be angry, yes.
And they contend that everything that's in the demo is in the real thing except for maybe parkour, but that had some bugs and they were going to
They were working on that, yeah.
And that, again, I haven't looked into it that deeply myself, but from what people are saying online, that seems to be not the case.
What kind of game was the day before again?
It was a multiplayer, survival shooter. I think it was like
okay, yeah.
looter shooter
I wouldn't
style,
have been playing
like
that.
extract. Oh yeah, it was Escape from Tarkov style, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, extraction shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a Twitter post that was like, or yeah, the Twitter, whatever, those community notes that pop up on Twitter things, and saying that that is not true. It does indeed not look at all like what the trailer indicated. And then this idea of like you delete it and then back and they just changed it so that their bio said like, go look at our statement on our website, and the website is completely blank now, except it's just like a blank page that has the statement on it is their entire website now. And I guess that means that people can't like respond to it on Twitter. So
I mean, when you own the space, yeah, that's a thing you can do. That whole studio is shut down now, isn't it?
Presumably, yeah. So who knows whether we'll find out if there was something going on, if there's something more going on not behind the scenes rather than just sort of the expected thing of just, people in way over their head.
It's more likely that, like, I mean, even with the volunteer thing, that was probably less. I have a hard time believing people will actually know how to be efficiently evil. So it's more likely that they were stumbling a lot and trying to find ways to fix it, and it didn't work out, and now angry because your whole thing went down.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's start. Let's talk about. Well, okay. So the coming up was this great quote from industry analyst on gamesindustry.biz saying, "The games industry should prepare to endure 2 years of pain," which which is a great, like, you shall endure 2 years of pain.
So my understanding is the expectation is 2023 will be
Wait,
a full year of layoffs.
2024?
Sorry.
Was 2023 already part of the year of pain?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not. I don't know. 2024 layoff year. 2025, just a lot of shutdown of devs and studios and stuff is the prediction, which is super fun. You want to know another super fun fact?
Mm-hmm. I love facts.
I think the thing I've seen online is that 2024, we've hit the 50% of the layoffs they've already done in 2023.
In like the first 3 weeks of 2024.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Isn't that a fun way to start the year? Yeah. Yeah, and so
Wow.
the
You don't want to lay
prediction-
people off over Christmas. You just
The-
lay them off a week after.
The further prediction, if you're going to lay off this many people and then, of course, have studios and stuff shutting down in 2024 is what we're getting probably 2025, 2026, 2027. The repercussions of having no people and no studios to make the games,
Right.
or
yeah.
at least to make them well.
That there's going to be a severe drought of like AAA titles.
I mean, of any titles, really.
Maybe it'll be good to have some more indie stuff happening.
Microsoft just laid off a bunch of people from Activision Blizzard after just acquiring them.
Maybe a bunch of these talented,
1900?
Maybe we'll get a bunch of like, groups of talented people forming up new companies and making interesting things. That would be fun.
I hope so.
I don't know. That's my
I've
that's my
not
the most optimistic thing I can think of.
I've not seen a lot of positive takes, but we are still in like everyone's getting laid off and a lot of people are fearful. There's the quote that keeps getting brought up about how because I think it was Iwata who took the pay cut, and he has a quote that's something like. If people are afraid of being laid off, I don't expect how they can make good games. And it's like, yeah, it's fair, honestly. Like,
It's a tough deal.
so that's fun.
Yeah, and people the stability is very important for being creative in a lot of ways. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We don't often like talk about in general, we don't talk about like layoffs or studio closures on ChillPoint just because it's not usually very funny, unless there's something like particularly. I mean, like for instance, one of the other big pieces of news that happened last week that we didn't talk about in terms of layoffs was Riot. Riot let a whole ton of people go, including most of the people off their lore team and off their Riot whatever it's called, the people who are making the things that aren't League of Legends.
I'm sorry, do they have people who make things that aren't League of Legends at Riot?
Well, it's like when Riot a few years ago, Riot was like, we're gonna make 30 other games that happen in the League of Legends universe.
Oh yeah, they've made a few of those.
Riot Forge, that's it. Yeah, Riot Forge was I mean, there's a lot of different studios that were doing it, but that Riot Forge was one of the main things that was doing that, and they're gone now. So anyway, we'll see how this sort of develops. The thing that I find particularly frustrating about this kind of stuff is you always wonder like how much of this is there's that thing of like, well, we had to cut back because
it's our restructure.
Well, we have to restructure, we have to cut back because we missed our all our goals or our metrics.
Yeah, and how many of those metrics were based on
and so
the pandemic years when everybody was inside playing video games?
And so obviously there's the two aspects of thing. It's like if a company is doing bad and there's no money and they can't pay people, that's one thing. Obviously that sucks. And when there's executives getting millions and millions and millions of dollars, that sucks even more. But when a company is doing fine, like there's that thing where like a company, there's been lots of situations where a company is doing fine, just not quite as amazingly as they initially forecasted.
Yeah,
and they're like,
real weird.
Because we thought we would do a lot better and we didn't, now we have to fire a bunch of people, even though we are actually still making a bunch of money. We aren't making quite as much money as we thought we would. Well, it's like, well, who made those forecasts? Well, we did.
Okay.
And we were wrong. And so because we were wrong, you have to, suffer for that.
Yeah, I worked at a clothing store that went through receivership and then bankruptcy and stuff, and it's really awful because you can see everything coming very slowly at you.
Mm.
But they also had, so there's this thing that some stores do where they like to be like, oh, we don't sell stuff on commission, so you can totally trust the person who's doing sales. But that's kind of a lie. They're not getting commission, but they have specific goals and stuff that they're supposed to achieve, like
Right.
items per sale, a certain dollar amount and whatnot. And the store will have a amount of money that they're trying to hit daily and for the week and monthly and everything that everyone is supposed to work together towards.
Right.
Those numbers are always based on going up on what last year's numbers are. And when you have a company that's constantly, because that's the thing, oh, we always have to make more than we did before. Everything must always go up, but that's not sustainable. At some point, stuff plateaus or it goes
Right.
down.
And
When you have a company that's going bankrupt, it goes really down.
And that thing of like your reward for really pulling together and working hard and increasing the company's bottom line and really selling those things is that next year you have to do even more.
You have to do even more.
They're
And
like, you can do that many. Well, then you can do.
If we have a tough
5%
year, it's still your fault for not doing better and doing more, right? Like it should be, hey, we had a great year. And next year, oh, it was a tough year, but it's fine. Last year we did so well, we can weather this storm. Lure does that. We do it pretty well.
We try.
Thank you for patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
Yeah, it's a strange thing that I don't really understand, which I suppose is probably bad when I'm supposed to be running the company. But
it's a game of capitalism. You don't want to go that route if you can help it.
All right, let's talk about things that are more interesting and cooler. Like, for instance,
please tell me there's something cooler to talk about.
RTX Remix, which is NVIDIA's thing that they're working on. So NVIDIA, graphics cards companies in general, NVIDIA specifically, is really hyped on ray tracing for video games in terms of to make lighting and things and games look really amazing. Part of the reason why they're pushing this is that they're kind of at the point where like games are like they have to figure out new ways of why people need more powerful graphics cards. And so they're like, ray tracing, that's going to be the big thing now because it's extremely difficult to do, but we've got special things that'll make it happen. And it looks really pretty. And so they're coming out with a new toolkit for modders. The RTX Remaster Beta Toolkit, which basically is a way, it's a thing to help people take an older game, and it uses a combination of using stuff to basically replace lighting effects with ray tracing lighting effects, using AI to upscale textures. Mm-hmm. Notably, where is this? Where does it say here? Generative AI texture tools that use our own proprietary model trained on our in-house data set. to automatically upscale low-res textures up to 4 times the original resolution.
Wow, 4 times.
Yeah, and using their own in-house tech, because of course the kind of AI content generation system that is like, you've got wooden planks and you want them to be higher detailed wooden planks, is probably not the same one that you want to use to generate whatever celebrities doing things, or generating logos for companies, or
it's not really, because it's
So they have
almost like a content aware fill on Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
It's taking other parts of the textures and it's trying to
So they're doing that, and then also there's things of replacing the lighting in older games with the ray tracing RTX type lighting.
okay.
So anyway, we'll see. Who knows what will come out of it in cool stuff, but it's one of those. It's one of these interesting tools where they're like, it's that chicken and the egg thing where they're like, we've got this awesome technology that is going to make all the games look good, but in order for it to work, games have to be like programmed with it.
Right.
And nobody's going to program with it if nobody's got the hardware to make it work. And so they're like, okay, we need to get as many games. We need to get games that, use this hardware as much as, as many games as possible, as quickly as possible, so that people can really see the benefit. So they'll buy it. So new games will make it. And so, it's trying to sort of foster this community.
Well,
we'll see if
it could take a while before we see any results of it.
Yeah. But I, as somebody who, lately I've been, either gaming on like a Switch or my home computer, which has like a GTX 1070, which is like a, 10-year-old graphics card, a very old graphics card. I don't get any of this. I haven't seen any of this new exciting stuff yet on my home system, but from what I understand, it looks really fancy. What else we got going on here? Monster Hunter Rise has just had an update. And the thing that has been rising is the annoyance of its users. And the thing that has been not rising is its rating on Steam, which has been changed to, or has, at least last time I looked, gone from extremely positive to very negative.
So what's the update?
So good. They patched out the de novo copy protection.
Good. Yes, agreed.
Not good. They patched in different copy protection.
I see. Okay.
Which is the same one that they put into the Resident Evil Revelations. Which is called Enigma Protector. Is that it? Yes. Enigma Protector. We're in this bizarre situation where apparently de novo was like the good one.
What? No, that's weird.
But yeah, if you look at the all reviews, very positive. Recent reviews, mostly negative. Yeah. Basically what happened, they put this in, and not only did it cause some problems in terms of killing people's performance, but most importantly, it broke compatibility with Stream Deck.
Oh, that's not a good.
Or Steam Deck.
Yeah, Steam Deck.
It broke compatibility with Steam Deck. It's still marked as Steam Deck compatible, but ever since January 22nd, it no longer works on Steam Deck.
Yeah, Monster Hunter is one of those games that if you can play portably, people like to.
I was looking at, like this is one of those stories that like I marked it and I fully expected that like by the time the actual episode came out, there would be an update on the story being like, oh, they rolled it back. It's fine now. The story doesn't seem to have been updated and it still has these negative reviews and stuff. So
It's probably still.
maybe I'm not sure if they have rolled it back yet. So yeah, it's real bad. I love this. One of the reviews says, "Pretty good game, but obligatory DRM review bomb." There's someone who has 272 hours in the game. It's like it's a good game, but I am forced to.
Yeah. Huh?
Here's just something cool. Wanted to see something cool?
Is it ice?
An ice beam could be involved. Because it's this incredibly awesome Mother Brain costume. Look at it. Rah.
That looks like a hassle to be at a convention in.
Yeah, you don't want to be just like browsing Artist Alley wearing
No, there are costumes that when you go to conventions that are like you come into a specific area, you hang around, you get photos taken, you go to the cosplay contest or whatever, and then if you're actually there to do anything else to the event, you ditch it so that you can do those things.
It's the way it's like all pixelated. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's more of like a performance art piece than like a cosplay costume in some ways. But it is pretty great looking.
It's too bad they don't have a Samus with them.
Especially since there's like a couple.
Oh, there we go.
There's a couple. Oh, I was gonna say there's a couple of Samuses in the audience. You can see a shoulder pad.
Yeah, because this is the kind of thing where if you're dressed up in anything Metroid related, you're gonna want to try to take a photo of.
But yeah, tough on the neck though. It's a hard.
I don't think the human neck goes through that, Paul.
Oh.
I don't think there's a real person's neck doing that. That seems very unlikely. No, right? Invitar is correct. It's probably a giraffe wearing it.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
Giraffes notoriously known for loving cosplay, and they finally have an outfit that they can work with.
It's when you have a pet giraffe, trying to find like a costume, like a couple's costume.
Yeah,
like you could be
it's really
Samus,
rough.
Samus, and then Master Chief, or not Master Chief, Samus and then Mother Brain. Anyway.
Samus and Master Chief. I'm sure that's probably a crossover fanfic somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Hey, remember Final Fantasy VII Advent Children?
I do, actually. We ran it at the Anime Club welcome night that I was running.
The movie that the director is like, I think it's important that people don't understand what's going on in each scene necessarily. What was the quote? There's something like,
yeah, it's
like the meaning of each.
Their own conclusions.
The meaning of
like
each scene shouldn't be clear.
I mean, I never played Final Fantasy VII, so I just assumed I was missing information from the game. It looked pretty at the time.
February 29th, the director's cut, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which is called Final Fantasy Advent Children Complete, which includes 26 extra minutes of footage.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I recall it being kind of slow. So 26 of extra minutes of footage is going to be great for really speeding up that runtime.
What does the 26 minutes of extra footage do? And how many of those minutes are on credits?
They don't say.
It's probably none of them.
They
Usually
say
they don't mean credits when they say that.
it features roughly 1,000 revised scenes with expanded themes and improved visuals.
I mean, improved visuals was always going to be a thing. Because when it came out, we were still in either DVD era or like very early Blu-ray. No one was using Blu-ray yet.
It was definitely DVD,
So,
yeah.
Improved visuals are gonna just be a yes, of course. Expanded themes, I suppose, if you didn't explain them, then yes. If these explain them, then sure.
Explaining is so.
Oh no,
this
do
is
they not? Is this more mystery?
This is actually kind of interesting. Maybe more movies should do this before the film starts. So this is a special. This is a special theatrical thing, right?
Okay.
So they're re-releasing this into theaters on the 29th. Before the movie starts, fans who arrive early will witness exclusive introductory content, such as a history of Final Fantasy VII presentation that will explain its ties to Advent Children.
Isn't that just an additional movie before you watch the movie? Wouldn't they just give you the? They do tell you when that you have to be there, right?
Gameplay footage of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be shown off, along with new interviews about the project with Final Fantasy VII Remake creative director and Advent Children director Tetsuya Nomura, and Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi.
I mean, I really thought you were going to say before the movie starts, when people come in, you have to pass a test. Final Fantasy trivia 7 something of some kind, and then they will know that you are allowed in.
They should, but you know how like if when a long running TV show, they've got the like previously on Supernatural.
I think it would be hilarious if a movie started that way, especially a movie that just isn't actually a sequel to anything.
Or just like it's like, what if I don't know what's going on in the Fast and the Furious movies? I need to know, what's important about family.
There's a lot of lore in those movies. I don't even have to watch them. Beach gave me a good rundown. I don't remember any of it, but I'm pretty sure I don't need to watch them.
I mean, they're entertaining.
I find movies like that actually put me to sleep more often than not, Paul.
That's fair.
So much like noise and stuff.
They are noisy.
I'm sure they're very good movies.
I remember my dad fell asleep during Jurassic Park in theaters. Sometimes it doesn't matter how action-packed a movie is in terms of falling asleep. Anyway, Overwatch is a game that has had a bit of a bumpy ride lately. What with Overwatch going away and Overwatch 2 replacing it, and people being different amounts of annoyed about that.
What's the newest bump in the road?
Around the same time they did that, I know a little bit around where they did where Overwatch 1 went away. They also closed the Overwatch League, which was the
right.
the
There's a whole esports
thing
that happened as well, where they basically closed stuff, where they made stuff really difficult and.
Yeah, they won. I think it was a combination of like they wanted to make a bunch of changes, and then the teams were like, "That's not going to work," and they're like, "Okay, fine, we'll just close it then."
Yeah.
But now they are evolving competitive Overwatch in a new direction.
Uh-huh.
and announcing the Overwatch Champions Series.
Okay.
The OWSC, Overwatch Champions Series, is our new premier international competitive circuit open to players across North America, Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa and Asia. It will have an open format as opposed to the franchise structure of the Overwatch League. Players in the eligible regions will form their own teams and compete in open qualifiers, working their way up to regional tournaments and eventually to 2 live events, a summer major tournament hosted by DreamHack Dallas, and finals in November hosted by DreamHack Stockholm. There's let me see here. Yeah, so there's some interesting weirdness in terms of as somebody said in the comments, or as MTVCDM say, Australia for the Pacific region has left out Australia and New Zealand, and apparently they're not operating the tournament in Australia and New Zealand, and the Asia region does not include China, because I guess they haven't found a publishing partner for China, because of weird Chinese video game rules.
Yeah, there's some rules there. I assume there's either some rules within Australia they don't want to follow, or
they've partnered with
maybe Australians are just too good at Overwatch and they want to give everybody else a chance.
And rather than running it themselves, they've partnered with ESL Faceit, the ESL Faceit group.
Okay.
Which is an esports tournament organizer based in London and owned by Savvy Games Group, the games-focused portion of the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund.
Ah.
So,
Yay.
That's interesting. It sounds like, and the other thing is that, so it sounds like there's, in a lot of ways, people like the format for it, people are actually pretty happy about in terms of like it being open.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So like that aspect is positive, but obviously there's a few other elements that are a little sketchy. I saw somebody in the comments, I'm pretty sure in a being silly way, was because this is the format for the tournaments and stuff. I saw somebody in the comments being like, "Wow, the Swiss are really overrepresented in this new tournament structure. Doesn't seem very fair."
They have a lot of teams.
Yeah. One of the finals is happening in Stockholm, so to come. But anyway. And I think all the other news. I know Stockholm's in. Okay, yeah, I know Stockholm's in Sweden. It's like that. It's like in that region. Okay.
Like we don't have like the whole last week tonight graphic set of like Stockholm. It's here, which is not because it's here.
Yeah. Yeah, the region.
Because then we'd actually look up our geography.
The region of Europe. Look. Yeah. Exactly. from the perspective of somebody. Look, my country is bigger than all of the fact that Europe chooses to split itself up into so many different countries.
You're gonna say your country is bigger than your country and it can beat you up? Like what's going on here?
Oh, we
Paul?
can't beat you up. There's not enough of us. But the fact that Europe wants to keep changing their country, have you just like walk a little bit and now you're supposed to be in a different country.
Oh, so you're more saying we can outwalk them?
I mean, I would say in terms of walking while staying within one country, I believe Canada can beat most other countries.
Paul can outwalk you. Every single one of you. You heard it here first.
Anyway, not in a fight, but in a walking while staying within your own country competition, I feel like Canadians are advantaged. Anyway.
What else we got? We got anything else?
No.
Oh, no.
I have a whole bunch of other stories here that are all just Pal World stories.
Oh,
which
no,
nobody cares about.
I think we extensively talked about that.
Oh, yeah. We covered
to a good degree, I hope.
Yeah, we covered Pal World to a solid degree.
Yeah,
anyway.
So now you can all just go find Turnip Boy and rob a bank. Again, other games came out. That one just came out like this week.
Turnip Boy commits
robs a bank.
Oh, is this
Turnip Boy commits tax evasion is the first game,
right?
Which is kind of I keep forgetting what I think it's more of a little bit of a story walk around game. I completely forget how that one works, but it's Turnip Boy robs a bank is more of a roguelike.
Yeah, I'd say commits tax evasion is a lot. It's kind of like the like Link to the Past Zelda thing.
It's more of what I hear.
Yeah, it's super good. I enjoyed it. It is weird.
Well, now you can rob a bank as a turnip. It's very explicit as what this game is.
It's true. I believe all the other people in the game are also various vegetables.
That's what I've seen from screenshots.
Yeah. Does that qualify for your thing of like not wanting to play like human characters in video games?
Oh, absolutely.
So vegetables is
vegetables is fine.
Vegetables is cool.
Vegetables are cool.
Is it? I mean, I feel like in terms of like tiers, or like the tier list.
Oh, the tier list.
Like cute woodland creatures is
definitely pretty high up there. Yeah, the cuter the better.
The cuter the better. Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I mean, I didn't play a human in Baldur's Gate either. I was a tiefling.
That's true.
Who turned into an owlbear most of the time.
Most of the time.
But after, there were a few times I turned into a dinosaur because I unlocked being a dinosaur, and the dinosaur can spit acid. So
that seems pretty solid.
Still better, but dinosaur was pretty neat.
And you did end up getting your like owlbear buddy.
Yeah.
Companion, right?
Yeah, I got Hootington, and I did turn into a mind flayer eventually.
They were you named your owlbear friend Hootington?
Well, it's what I called him. The game didn't let me like rename him or anything. Oh. I also called the hammer that I magically summoned that wanders around from Shadowheart. I called Hammerton. So really creative naming going on. When
I was playing Tears of the Kingdom. You have to name all your you have to name your horses.
Oh yeah.
And I started naming. I had Horseface was one of them. There's the mythical golden horse that Zelda rides, which I called Old Yella. I would have called him Old Yeller, but I didn't have enough characters to do that. And I had polka butt for the one. He had spots on his butt, polka dot butt.
I was going with, I think most of mine were just planets. So I had the giant horse I called Mars.
Oh, nice.
And then I had another one that was that I called Mercury. That was more of a
fast
paler horse. I didn't know what to name them because just kind of one of those things where the game's like, and now you can name your horse. Like,
I mean, you don't really have to have like a ton of horses either. So it's like,
yeah, it's true.
I also had one that was just good. He had like he had like maxed out the pulling.
Oh, okay, cool.
The towing harness. So I called him Prime, as in Amazon Prime. He was the delivery horse. Although basically the only thing I ever used that for was attaching Koroks to it to drag them to their buddies.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I didn't think of doing that. I mostly just kind of, when it came to the Koroks, I was like, do you look like something I could do right now? Okay, we'll help you. And then I'd come across one that's like, I want to go way up there on this total face cliff thing. I'm like, yeah, goodbye. I don't think so. You figure your own life out.
I like to do the delivering them to their buddies ones. I thought I quite enjoyed a lot of them, but
it depended on what I was doing. Most of the time I was like
busy doing something else,
on my way to something else. So if it looked like a thing I could do, like it was reasonably like I can pick you up and probably get you over there pretty quickly, I'll just do it. But sometimes it was the place they wanted to go was like involved making a contraption or something, and I was like, I don't care enough about you to make you a balloon that's going to work. I'd mark the map for later when I definitely didn't go back.
I definitely built a few balloons. Like, I've got to get them up this cliff. Here, I'll build a balloon for you. All right, let's float up. Wait, what do we do now? Okay, I've got to get you. Oh no. Oh, all right. We're gonna just. Okay, how about we just fall like 300 feet to the ground? He's fine.
I did that with some of the shrine stones where you had to find the stone and like
thing.
There were some where it's like clearly it would be a better idea to like put it on a thing and try to gently get it down, and I would just be like, okay, yeet. Oh, that missed. Okay, wait until there
it respawns because yeah. Well, my other favorite one with Koroks was, it's like you have to get all the way up there. Okay, I'll just like attach a bunch of trees together, stick you to one end, grab the other end, and poke them over there.
I read a thing that said that if you attach meat to an arrow and fire the arrow and then get down there really quickly and you attach the Korok to the meat and then you reverse time on the meat, you can get it to like go up to where you were. But I spent so long trying to make that work and it never worked. Like the meat would go all the way back up, but the Korok would end up like breaking off.
Why meat?
Because you can attach it to an arrow and it'll stay. Like if I did it with a bomb, the bomb will just explode. A lot of the
I heard that move with rather than meat with one of the like spikes, because you can attach those to
that might have worked better.
The Zontai spike. You can attach those to I saw that. I did the thing where like I beat Tears of the Kingdom and then afterwards like YouTube recommended me like, here's a bunch of cool things that you can do, and I'm like, oh neat. I didn't do any of those things. Those would have made life a lot easier.
I've seen.
Too bad they didn't mention any of that stuff in the game. Oh well.
Yeah, I've seen a number of people online do like essentially giant laser bots trying to take down Lionels and things. Right. I know Beach tried. I know Joe was trying for a bit too to make like a contraption, and I watched him put it together. And like, I think the building stuff is really neat. I just don't care. So I'm gonna do everything that doesn't involve me to do it unless I have to, because there's like a point where you're like, you got to build a bridge, you got to do whatever. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll do the thing. But I'm not doing anything else.
It annoyed me that because like you can never leave your stuff, like the distance that things disappear at is quite small.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, you can't like have a car and drive around like you would have a horse or something, because like you stop and then get off and like go into a cave and then come out and your car's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I shouldn't have parked in this neighborhood. But anyway,
like I was sad. I missed the tablet bombs from Breath of the Wild. I liked being one of the things I liked to do was like, I don't think I can defeat that enemy that's down there, but I can stand up on this rock and keep tossing these invisible bombs down at it forever.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything interesting right now. But I can tie a bomb to an arrow now. And I'm like, okay, it's pretty cool, but I used to have infinite bombs.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us on ChillPoint, the show where we occasionally talk about video game news or just about random video game stuff like Pokemon and
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, because those are great games.
Or turnips committing robberies.
Or turnips that commit robberies. This stream, like everything we do here, is sponsored by you. Thanks to your support of our Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. We also have a Kickstarter going on right now for the
Friday nights. That's ending at the end of the month.
Yeah,
so
ending very soon. In fact, we will be doing a stream, I think on Tuesday, for the sort of countdown to finishing it up stream. So that'll be fun.
We'll see that. We'll look at that. Yeah.
Wednesday. Yes, you're right. Wednesday. Sorry. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff happening, and a lot of it is because of your wonderful support of all the things that we do. So thank you, and we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.